Why do I hear boss music? Ah, that's why I hear boss music. Being the fact that today, we're talking about boss fights. The most enjoyable part of any video game. The big bad bosses. And it's clear to see why. Bosses allow you to test your skill and see what you've learned. Challenge your might and see who is worthy. Okay, you all know what this list is about. Yes, I'm listing my favorite boss fights from video games. Rules are no final bosses, for obvious reasons. Also, I'm going to slap a big boy spoiler warning on this video, as I will be talking about games that have a lot of spoilers and are just really good all around. So just be warned of spoilers going in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The boss music is already started, so let us begin, shall we? Well, we're starting here, huh? Being one of the best games of 2016, Doom is a freaking awesome game. And that's why the Doom guy should be in Smash. Oh wait, wrong video. While Doom isn't known for its bosses, you gotta admit, all the bosses in this game are really cool. Whether it be the Hellguard Spider Demons, or the Gladiator in Doom Eternal, all of them are kick-ass. But I think I just have to go with the Cyber Demon for this one, due to the fact that it's the OG Doom boss. This badass appeared all the way back in the original Doom. Making your way through the Lazarus Labs, you learn that in order to get back to Hell, you need to find another Argent Accumulator. And the only one around is in Specimen, codenamed CD587. Nice touch there with the naming. So you have to extract it. And with the new goal set, you're off into the depths of the Lazarus. It's only when you're going down the elevator you find out that this specimen is a cyber demon. And once you pull the safety lock to his domain, he pulls you in, and once you see him in HD format, oh baby, now that is one sexy beast. The fight with him is as basic as you can get for a bullet hell boss. He shoots micro missiles, rains hell from above, tries to Thanos snap your lower half out of the way with a lock-on laser, and swipes you with his freaking slicey blade, which also can send out shockwaves. And that's pretty much it for the first phase. In the second phase, he'll try to cut you down via raising rock walls up from the sides of you and try to limit your movement. His attacks will also get much faster and more frequent in this phase. All in all, I think this is a very good first boss for a video game, especially considering the fact that this game is all about killing anything that moves pretty much. Man, talk about a splitting headache, am I right, Doom guy? Eh? Please don't kill me. Ah yes, a classic. I love Banjo-Kazooie, but I love Banjo-Tooie even more. Considering the fact that the bosses are what make this game fun, and the fact that it's 10 times bigger than the original. So picking a boss was really difficult. There were 3 bosses in the running for this list: Welder, Mr. Patches, and Lord Wu Fatback. All 3 offer a nice challenge to the player. However though, while Welder has a fun challenging fight and Fatback is just all around fun, the toy dinosaur from Wes Craven's New Nightmare beat out a living blowtorch in Lord Wu Fatback for the fact that his fight was a challenge, fun, and just all around more memorable. Along with the fact that his fight takes place in my favorite world in the game, Witchy World. Patches' fight is just nothing but a bundle of fun. Starting off as a little boy, the cloth dinosaur grows to max size and begins to chase you down Jurassic Park. Or he waddles around like he smoked one too many golden feathers. Man, bottles must have the good shit. Can I have some too, dude? Yeah, despite Patches being iconic, he really doesn't do much. Like, at all. Once you hit the obvious weak points that make SpongeBob Steel Pants look invisible by comparison, he starts having boxing gloves attack you from the ground. This forces you to take to the skies and fight the wannabe Godzilla airborne, and forcing you to do something that not many games do nowadays, which is to use a skill you've just learned to take him down. Well, kinda. You can use the skill you just learned via the airborne egg aim, or you can just junk ball him. Either way, he's gonna die. Here, he'll punch you with beach balls, and if you bump into him, you'll actually bounce back and not take any damage. A nice little detail by the developers. Another nice detail is the fact that he shrinks the more his weak points get destroyed. Details like this always put a smile on my face, and music like this makes this fight a memorable one to say the least. I just wish his fight was as good as the other fights on this list. Oh, don't worry, we'll get to him later. Well. Pokemon can be hit or miss with its fights. They're either good, bad, or annoyingly frustrating. But I think we can all agree that there are more good fights in these games, like Evis from the Pokemon Colosseum games, Ultra Necrozma, and for this list, Ghetsis. Since I haven't played Ultra Sun and Moon, which I will never play them because they're pretty bad, I can't really put Necrozma on here. But the story behind Ghetsis is compelling enough for a full game itself. That would still probably be better than Ultra Sun and Moon. A man who secretly manipulated his own son N to gain power over Unova, to where he almost Ice Age genocide a city. And facing this prick at the end of Black and White is awesome, challenging, and fun, in a well-earned fight. But I can't put that fight on here for the fact that it's a final boss technically, so we're gonna go with Black and White 2's version. Even with the downgrades he got in Black and White 2, Ghetsis is still one tough son of a bitch. Starting the encounter off by sending out Kyurem first. Dude's such a badass, he doesn't even need to use his Pokemon to kill you. Just a dual elemental dragon. But as soon as Kyurem is out of the picture, the real fight begins. Whichever version you're playing, it's not going to be easy. In the first game, he was already rocking some busted Pokemon, and while he did downgrade, even then you're not going to have an easy time, as each one of his members can cover pretty much any of their weaknesses. Seismic Toad has Sludge Wave for those pesky grass types, Electros has no weakness, Cofagrigus is just a straight up wall, Toxicroak has Sucker Punch, Drapion has fucking Earthquake, and Hydreigon is, well, Hydreigon, basically having coverage for both ice and other dragon types. What makes me appreciate Ghetsis as a boss is the fact that it feels good to fight and beat him, as his fight is pretty much a difficulty curve in a nutshell. You have to think smart on how you approach each of his Pokemon, and if you go in guns blazing, you're not going to have an easy time. And the fact that he realized he was being a dickhead at the end of his boss fight was a nice, satisfying conclusion to the Team Plasma arc. Huh. Guess even the darkest of souls of frozen ice have a warm-spirited heart. Man, for a ping pong ball that's only 8 inches tall with just little stubby arms, Kirby's had to deal with so much shit. He's had to stop King D from stealing all the food, stop Meta Knight from taking over Dreamland, Buddy Jester with the power of a planet-busting god, has mass genocide against several small boys that turn into evil boys, and then literally multiversal embodiments of chaos and darkness. So yeah, Kirby's had to deal with a bunch of shit. But about Meta Knight, you actually think that this entry was about Kirby? Well, think again. As much as I love all Kirby bosses, there can be only one. And it's a good thing that this one is the number one strongest warrior. Ha! Puns aside, this fight definitely deserves to be on here. Though a bit overrated at this point, I do see why so many people love this fight. A journey through the universe to prove he's still the ultimate Star Warrior. Meta Knight arrives at Nova, reviving the fallen Star Dream, and wishing for the one thing and the only one thing, the strongest warrior in the universe. And surprisingly, it's not Kirby, but rather Galactonite, a warrior sealed away for its power being so great that it could casually destroy planets. And with him being free of exile, you're off to the races, starting the ultimate fight of the ping pong balls. While fighting him as Kirby is a fun challenge, playing as Meta Knight makes that fun 100 times more enjoyable. Sure, yeah, you can cheese it by using super moves like a wimp, or fight him sword to sword for an even better challenge. And when you know it, it's just as fun. Since everyone has heard and seen the rodeo in every Kirby game, I'll make it quick. Every one of his attacks is basically what Meta Knight did in his boss fight, hyphen to the extreme. He's still got the multi-jab, mock tornado, ground shockwaves, screen clearing twisters, and sword dives, but along with a bunch of new toys as well. He can create fire pillars to rise up, clockwise or counterclockwise screen lasers, and even summon minions to pester you. And man, does it feel good to deliver the final blow. While this entry is pretty short, it's still a fun, well-earned, and challenging fight, and it's only getting better from here, even if it is predictable. Now, on my channel, I've done a lot of Marvel vs. DC trailers. It's no surprise that I love comic books. It's being a nerd 101. Thou must readeth from the holy scrolls of wisdom, and sometimes broken OP characters. But sadly, good comic book games are as rare as good TV show games, given some exceptions. But one thing is for sure, the Arkham games still kick ass. They're fun puzzle solvers that make you feel like Batman. So it's no surprise that it's a boss from this Arkham City game that got my attention. I mean, after all, it is my favorite character in comic books. Pack up the ice puns, Arnie. We're going hunting. Now that's more like it. Like I said, the Arkham games are all about making you feel like Batman. And what better way to make you feel more like Batman than fighting an opponent that is basically Batman? Freeze has always been one of my favorite Batman villains, mainly for the fact that he's not really a villain. He's mostly close to an anti-hero, only doing the things he does to help his wife Nora, and sadly that means he won't help us without helping him, and Bats doesn't exactly have the time for that. So a one-on-one fight it is. However, this isn't what it is at all. Fighting Freeze fist to fist will only result you in becoming another one of his ice sculptures. So the only option is to use the environment to your advantage and strike when the time is right. So to beat a Batman villain, you gotta think like Batman. Now this is some crispy game design. And what's also crispy game design is the boss being smart. Seems like Freeze doesn't like it when you trick him more than once. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, nah fam, try something else. This is actually really smart, because it forces you to think more creatively and less straightforward. That's cool, no frosty pun intended. I wish more bosses were like this, because it would lead to more interactive encounters just like this, instead of just hit point A to hurt boss B. All in all, you have a fun and challenging fight that puts your brain to the test. Nice job, Snow Globe. Guess all those Freeze puns didn't go to your head after all. Why does Bowser Jr. get way more shit than he should? Sure, he may be an asshole and all-around bitchy brat, but I don't really see the hate other than from that. To me, honestly, I don't really see an issue with that. Mainly because it's just his character to act like that. Being the son of Bowser comes with that cocky attitude. And you gotta admit, his bosses are pretty good, especially in Mario Galaxy. Speaking of which, Whack-A-Mole anyone? What? What's with the face? Don't look at me like that. Yep, while I'll always respect the kings of the Koopas, I have to give this spot to one of his son's best gadgets, Mega Hammer. Koopa Kid II over here has one hell of a boss fight. And you know it's good when the fight is promoted in for the game. And when you know it, it is. Going through the second fortress of Bowser Jr., you realize right away that you have to use Yoshi. And the second I knew that, I was hooked. This level is just really fun, creative, and very short, unfortunately, but it is indeed fun. And when you know it, the boss stays true to the level's game design. Using the bullet bills he shoots out of his chest, I guess, and launches them back at his more obvious weak spots. 2 in front, 1 behind. His, Texas-sized assets, as I will call them, and break this machine. After you destroy one of the weak spots, he'll start creating shockwaves with his hammers that you need to jump over with Yoshi. After all 3 are destroyed, Junior opens up his glass casing, and him, being the smart person he is, doesn't realize he done goof. Using 2 more bullet bills, you finally send this junk to the scrap heap. Now that doesn't sound like a complicated fight or interesting fight. I mean, it isn't very complicated at all anyway. But what puts this high is presentation! Instead of yeeting the Yoshi gimmick out the window like most other levels would do, it stays true to form until the very end of the level where you fight Junior. Also, you're fighting him in space above a black hole, while riding Yoshi. Gotta hand it to you, Brett. Maybe you are worthy of the throne after all. Oh yeah, now shit's starting to get good. Now that we're in the top 10, the remaining list is going to be fights that have left a massive impression on me. And what better way to start this off with the Spectre of Subcon Forest, Snatcher. And holy hell did it leave an impression on me. From the second you enter Chapter 3 and are introduced to this ghostly ghoul, you just instantly know, oh yeah, he's definitely the boss of this place. And after you try to get back your timepiece, he's willing to, dislocate your neck for you. And he takes your hat, that bastard! And thus the battle begins. Once the fight starts, you know he means business, as he launches attacks that not even Luigi's Mansion's ghosts can handle. He starts by sending dubstep power geysers your way, sending minions to trample you down like it's Black Friday, and even throwing 1,000 Fortnite big pots at you at once. Holy hell, that's insane. He even breaks the fourth wall to tell you he won't go smurf for you.
Sorry, kiddo. Blue doesn't suit me.
Once you knock back his Chug Splash potions, he then starts to kick his attacks into full throttle. Along with several other new attacks, he'll pop out of the ground creating shockwaves and even try to trick you with a duplicate. And it also looks like he's been taking advice from Saiyans because he ends up doing a Power Geyser circle on you. Along with throwing everything else I just mentioned at you, but all at once. The game goes from a simple platformer to a bullet hell that makes Toho look like a cakewalk. But what really puts him so high is his personality. He's basically if the Flying Dutchman had a bloodlust to kill anyone who crossed him. But then again though, SpongeBob did get nuked by him, so... But let's not worry about that. I also like the fact that he's so nonchalant through the whole chapter. Hell, even at his boss for being so acid trip inducing, it's completely chill during it. All in all, you have a fun fight with one hell of a challenge. On second thought, maybe I should give Luigi a call. God knows he's seen worse. I always knew eating would be the death of me, but never I thought it'd be a snack. At least I'll be a chiller pop. Battle for Bikini Bottom's Robot Patrick is the personification of what the fuck did I just witness? A sight so weird and bizarre, it silences all the lambs. As you continue your journey to find the cause of the robot outbreak, leads you and Sandy to the industrial park. Now as a wee lad, I didn't know that there was a Robot Patrick in this game, because I was kinda oblivious to it all. But when I did find out, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Going into this fight, I didn't know what to expect, but holy hell is it great. A mission to save Squidward from a carnivorous patron, and to stop him from eating your party dry to the bone, literally. Now because of the remake had just come out, Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, that fight is very different from the original version, so I'm going to be covering both here. But though they play very similarly as well, bombarding you with goop spit, droplets from his ice cream cone, freezing breath, his leftovers with acid belches, and do-si-do moves that would put any Tex in the shame. And in the remake, they're much faster, coming at you blindingly fast though. He even has an upgraded AI smart system where instead of the belch just going directly for the middle, he'll directly target you with his acid belches, along with the freezing breath actually lasting much longer as well. And what is the downfall of this monstrosity? A kick-me side. Yep, that's Patrick for you. Despite this fight being very simple, hell, even the last phase is pretty fucking easy, what really puts the fight up this high is personality. Despite the boss not giving any dialogue other than his death yell, which is also pretty funny. But the fact that this one appearance, they nailed everything about Patrick's personality. His stupid, klutzy, goofy, gluttonous, all of them. He nailed all of his personality traits in this one boss fight. Eat your heart out, licensed gaming companies. This is the heavy iron difference right here. Speaking of what the fuck, at number 7 we have an underrated and quite frankly overhated boss in my opinion. One of Subspace Emissary's original boss fights, Duon. And it's no wonder why I think he's underrated. Not only does he give much more of a challenging fight to the Mecha Rhino, but he also does pretty well in the design department. And in my opinion, stands out as the best original design boss in Brawl's story mode. A design so weird that it's terrifying. Coupled with that, the atmosphere and the fact that you're fighting on the Hellbird's deck makes for a kick-ass fight. Picking from your party of 6, you fight the beast and to reclaim control of Meta Knight's ship. And what a battle. Technically for this fight, you're battling two bosses at once, the blue half and the pink half. Whichever one is facing you will dictate what attacks they'll do. The blue half, or the swordy boy half, will slash at you with his blades, cross-chop you, launch small bombs that explode on impact, and if you're close enough, face slam you harder than Crash does to Bernstein. The pink half, or the pew-pew half, will shoot homing missiles, fire a barrage of bullets at the ground and the air, and has lasers that can knock you off stage. He'll also charge you from side to side, try to smash you into the ground, and spin like a Beyblade, let it rip! Yeah, like that. I know most people would say this was the weakest boss in Subspace, but I feel like this one had more personality than the others, excluding non-original bosses like Ray Ray and Ridley. Despite the boss's moveset being pretty lackluster, it still makes good use of it, giving you a pretty decent challenge in the long run. The design is pretty good and the presentation is done well enough to put it on the list. Man, talking about Brawl brings me back to the great nostalgia for me. I should go back and play that again. Is it a full moon? Because I feel beastly. Ah yes, we all knew this was coming eventually, the obligatory Sonic boss section. For those who don't know, I have a hit or miss history with the Blue Blur. His games are either really good, bad, or just why? But one thing is still stayed in my mind. Sonic Unleashed is the best 3D Sonic game. Yes, you heard me right. You all can fight me on that in the comments section if you want to. The most bizarre adventure that the Sega Speedster has gone on just so happens to be one of my favorite bosses in it, that being the Dark Guardian. For this entry, I'll be referring to the Wii version, as this is the one I played for this top 10. Plus, the PS4 version kinda sucks, not gonna lie. Now for this, I'm also not gonna beat around the bush for this boss fight. He's basically a big-ass goon with a hammer. Racing to pull the world together, Sonic's adventure around the world has arrived at the Shamar Temple. At this beastly beast blocks your way. Like I said earlier, it's not very complex fight-wise, but that's kind of why I like this boss. While there are other bosses before this involve exploiting a weakness of some kind, like throwing water on the boss or freezing it, this one is just a straight-up slugfest, a bare-knuckle fistfight if you want to be blatant with it. Fighting the beast one-on-one is a great breath of fresh air. I know most of the Werehog stages consist of combat sections, but there's just something so good about being a boss one-on-one. His attacks are actually pretty similar to Sonic Hogs over here. He can stretch his limbs, sweep the area around him, can summon lightning from the sky, heal, will charge you down like a charging chuck on crack, and even has a QuickTime event. And yeah, that's kinda it. I know it seems pretty bare bones for a boss, but in my opinion, it's a great breakpoint boss. It's fun to just beat enemies that are bigger than you. Also, it's just fun to throw around a bag of meat like it's nothing. Now then, anyone up for a chili dog? The mystery of the unknown is always intriguing to us humans. Discovering what was once a mystery and learn what we don't know. Unlocking the mysteries and harnessing the resources and using them to advance our race. So here's my question. What does hell look like? Ah yes, that's what I needed. Some good old nightmare fuel. Thanks, man. Now I just asked what hell looks like, but what in Satan's ghost pepper anus am I looking at? A rotten wall of people meat? My favorite cut of loin. Possible cannibalism aside, Turia is basically what I consider the Arnold Schwarzenegger of gaming, because it keeps flexing its bossly pecs, even with the final update. So after you beat every boss in easy mode, what better way to flex on the gods above and beat its guardian, the Great Wall of Rotting Corpses? Trump's Wall is no pushover. Even before fighting this thing, it requires you to build a worldwide bridge in order to maneuver the terrain. Remember, you're fighting this thing on its home turf, and its home turf doesn't play fair, unless you want to defy the odds and beat this thing the hard way. A worldwide bridge is a near necessity, and the fight hasn't even started yet. After you've done some ritual thingy motherfucker, Great Wall of Flesh shows up in its ugly, toothy face, and starts to give chase. In the words of Joseph Joestar, with laser eyes, tendrils, and leeches it pukes up, along with all the underworld regular monsters as well, chasing you down. And don't think you can just cheese the boss by getting behind the society reject, as that results in an instant death, with literal tongues coming to lick ya. I mean, it literally says you get licked. Christ, that's brutal. While most midway bosses would be flashy or just straight up hard, just to show that the game is gonna get serious, the Wall of Flesh does both at the same time by having the shock value of it being grotesque as hell and being a hard-ass boss. Good job, Terraria. Screaming Mad George will be proud of you. There comes a time where I can appreciate the magic of Platinum games. What was once the great Clover Studios, responsible for classics like Beautiful Joe and Okami, have grown to the art of making fine-ass games. From original franchises, one-offs, or even Nintendo sequels, they always hit it out of the park, regardless. And one of my favorites, in a sadly underrated gem, is the Wonderful 101. This game is just oozes charm. Basically taking the beat-em-up superhero style game and adding a twist to it by using Green Lantern constructs made of people to beat the shit out of aliens. Oh hell yeah, that's my favorite kind of game now. And being Platinum Studios, there's a whole slew of Nintendo references in here. So, square the fuck up, thought. Ooh yes, now that's what I'm talking about. Time for story time with Grandpappy Granbull. When I was a wee lad, I've always loved boxing. It's still to this day my favorite sport to watch. Two grown men beating the shit out of each other for other entertainment. It's like hockey, except it's the good parts only. So when I learned that there was a Nintendo game called Punch-Out for the Wii, y'all knew I'd be all over that in a heartbeat. And I was, beating the game on both difficulties and beating all the challenges with each boxer. So now you're probably asking, what the fuck does this have to do with the game about Green Lantern people? Because in this fight, you're playing Punch-Out, baby! Plenty of games in the past have added the Punch-Out-esque bosses to them, such as Missplosion Man and Sonic Unleashed, but none do it quite as well as this fight. As the game starts to hit the fan real hard, the Wonderful 101 desperately try to get the Mother Platinum activated. It turns out the small child Luca, who you've been trying to keep safe from the aliens, turns against you. As it turns out, he wanted to go see the aliens later due to the fact that this war was the cause of his mother's death. And all he wants now is nothing more for the world to crash and burn. After a small combat section on the ship, it transformed into the mighty Giga Gujan. Unfortunately, the Virgin Victory is offline, and with no giant robots to hijack, it almost seems like it... Did you actually think that they were going to die? Hell no. In our last ditch after, Mother Platinum pulls all of the remaining energy into the buildings, don't question it, and basically pulls a Sonic Unleashed, creating a Gaia Guardian, Platinum Robo. Yes, I know, it's stupid, just roll with it. And with the playing fields equal again, the battle begins. And I guess Platinum Games really like Sonic Unleashed because, just like Dark Gaia, you're playing Punch-Out, motherfucker. This fight is pretty much the definition of Punch-Out. Shit, they nailed the Star Punch gimmick. You, the small robot, as Little Mac, versus the Squidward-looking motherfucker as Soda Popinski. You're probably asking why Soda Popinski and not Sandman? Oh, that's simple, because this dude is as unpredictable as him. And by that, his attacks aren't telegraphed so obviously. Only the faintest of eye twitching will tell you what move he'll do. The fight starts out as a basic punch-out fight. He'll try to do the classics. Simple jabs, uppercuts, try to fake you out, to more unorthodox things, like eye lasers and even sweeping kicks, which is cheating. But then again, almost every boxer in Punch-Out cheated in title defense, so I guess this is accurate. It's only when he gets down to half health where he starts to get serious, as he now will summon past bosses you've defeated to pester you. Orochi will spew fireballs at you, or Darko will try and drag you under the water, and Daigia will dive bomb you. He also starts throwing smaller robots at you and even does the Dreamline Express, up to a QuickTime event. And just as it seems it's all over, the Armada fires a laser from the sky and stops you from the rescue mission, leading to one of the most emotional moments in the game. Whereas it turns out, Luca's mother is actually still alive. As it turns out, she didn't die on purpose. She sacrificed her life to become Earth's shield barrier, Mother Platinum. She gave up her physical body in order to create the ultimate Earth defense. It's heartbreaking. and to see the guilt in Luca's eyes, he blames humanity for his mother's death, only to find out she is the reason why they're still alive. It's tragic. Thankfully, he redeems himself by finishing off the invaders. Jorginga better be ready, cause his ass is next. Like I mentioned with Platinum Games, they're great at making some banger games, and if it were up to me, Okami would be the coup de grace to their magnum opus. A beautifully stylized game with amazing graphics, fun and compelling characters, and personality wherever you go. So you could say this game is pretty cool. Literally. Wait, didn't I make an ice joke already? Whatever. I can give respect to the beast of Ryoshima Coast that is Ninetales, and the creativity of Orochi, despite the fact that you fight him 3 goddamn times. But the rejected Tootsie Pop Owls will always have my vote. And oh, is it well earned. No cheating here, just 2 owls that can manipulate time that just so happen to have the best boss in the game. Going through Kamui for the first time, you get the sense of uneasiness. No one is out and about, there's barely any huts, and a dog man wants to shank you. It's creepy. But as you progress through, you learn why that is. Thanks to the 2 clockwork demons, Lechku and Nechku, the ones responsible for the eternal winter of the land and the final guardians of Yami. So the race is on through Yoshpet and traveling back to the past. Samurai Jack. And after your Samurai Jack shenanigans, you make it to the Wabu Shrine back in present time. Once you reach the top of the first tower, you find Nechku up and about and fighting Shiranui? What? Yeah, turns out she was sent back to the present, so yeah. I don't know why there ain't time anomalies happening, but whatever, it's a video game, not gonna question it. Anyway, let's beat up the big cuckoo clock owl. Though in all seriousness though, this pre-fight is great. All you need to do is just open up your brush and Shiranui just fucking murders him. And just as it seems it's all over, Uki barges in while fighting Lechku, who then proceeds to do a chaos control, freezing everyone including you and Oki in mid-air, lining him up to be a dog meat kebab. Luckily, Shiranui resists it and launches herself in the way of the hit instead, which almost kills her in the process. So it's off to the other tower. Once there, the elevator in the middle takes you up to the top of the tower. And with Oki by your side, the fight is on. The fight is actually pretty fun, as this requires you to use most of your brush techniques. During the fight, you'll have to counter whatever the bootleg storm owls throw at you. Swords in the air, time to ride the lightning. Ice projectiles, light 'em up boys. Eggs, scramble those suckers. You get the picture. They also try to swoop down at you as well. Once you damage one of them enough, they'll become stunned. So in order to bring the owls down, Oki asks you to yeet him at the stun burn. Once that's done, a simple power slash will bring them down for you to wail on them. While it seems simple on paper, the execution was done amazingly. For the fight taking place in a snowstorm to the theme of this fight being a banger, if there's one thing about Okami, it's the music. And oh boy, does it please. The music of this fight encapsulates the mysterious but yet epic traditional Japanese style of Okami. And this is something I can listen to on loop. A fight worth being on here, and a fight worth being in the top 3. Talk about clocking out. They took it to a whole new level.
You can't beat me!
What? A Donkey Kong villain? As good or even better than K. Rool? No, it can't be. While he may not be as memorable as the Chonkadile, Wizpig still remains as the bane of my childhood. Being the living stereotype of the animal. You know, greedy, cocky, thinking they're on top of the world. All of that put masterfully into this character from one of the best racing games on the N64 or the DS in my case. Climbing the ranks to the top of the racing charts, you come to this roadblock, the race between you and Wizpig, one of the most infamously cruel bosses in all of gaming history. Now, it's common knowledge that pigs are usually pretty slow. In fact, you can pretty easily outrun a pig. But apparently Nintendo didn't get that memo. Because Wizpig runs like the Flash that snorted too much G-Fuel powder. And that's not even the start of it. While the other 4 boss racetracks were very simple in layout, Wizpig's track purposely is designed to hinder the player. No balloons, a flooded racetrack, and minimal boost paths, showing one of the rarest things in gaming, filtering out the pros to the noobs. A boss so cruel that it forces you to get good, either mastering the secret boost techniques or unlocking and abusing TT, a character only unlocked via beating all time trials in the game. No matter how you go, it forces you to completely master the game. You may be asking, why? Why is this fight number 2 when it's not that impressive on paper? It's a simple race with a difficulty spike. So why? Because no other boss on this list has ever done what Wizpig has done to me. A boss that pushed me to my limit. Ever since I was a kid, this fight has always pushed me to strive as a gamer. To push me beyond my limits and overcome obstacles I couldn't before. That's why I love video games so much. To know that bosses like this can push normal people to become better at something. And not just from simple difficulty spikes. From a fair rise in difficulty. I mean, he is the main baddie. Him being easy like the other bosses races would just be out of character for him. And that's why this fight ranks so high up. A masterful villain, both character and boss-wise. Talk about a nostalgic handshake to the heart, am I right? You know, that whole talk about nostalgia got me thinking. It got me thinking about why we play video games. Why do some people get into them? Is it for the adventure, fun, competition, the characters, style? What exactly? Well, I got into video games because of the bosses. Seeing what kind of bosses are in games will always hook me into the game, regardless if it's good or bad. So when I see a new Mario game, you had me at Bowser. Oh, now look who's cheating. I know this is really sketch to put every non-final boss Bowser fight on this one entry, but god damn it, I can't help it. Listing one Bowser fight to put on here is too difficult for me to do, because every encounter with the Koopa King is always a sight to behold. Ever since the 8-bit era, Bowser has always graced us with his unique encounters, instead of the casual fire breath and hammers. Tamek's growing big, kaiju-style fights, the classic cattle car, horror movie chases through his castle, all the good shit. Or in the case of Inside Story, being the big turtle and pulverizing everything in your way. And technically that counts as a Bowser fight to me, so... But what really gave Bowser the gold was his presentation and personality. If anything has changed since the 80s is that Nintendo has gave Bowser one of the best personalities in the Mario series. A personality that is more fleshed out than any other main character of the franchise. Normally, he's a maniacal idiot who just wants to conquer the Mushroom Kingdom. But when the time comes, he's willing to work with the main heroes. He's cocky, bold, confident as fuck. Basically, I'm saying he uses big dick energy. He's basically a turtle Chad. Also, do you want to know what my first boss I've ever fought was? Bowser. On New Super Mario Bros. DS. It was pre-owned and I kinda just went to random levels. And I just so happened to go to the Dry Bowser Castle. And it was great. Simple and satisfying. Just like how all of his fights are. My personal favorites being his giant battles from Dream Team, his Pimp My Ride from 3D Land, and So Long, Gay Bowser. Man, no wonder he's the king, because he rules at his boss fights with an iron fist. Take all the glory, big guy. You deserve it all. Just please, for the love of God, don't step on one of your traps again. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you actually enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. If you have any critiques for me for my top 10s, please leave them down below. What can I do better for the next time? Sorry that these big videos aren't coming out as more often as I was hoping. These videos do take a lot of work for me to do, and I don't exactly have the free time to make them. But I am happy that this video finally got out, and hopefully it was worth the wait. But now guys, I have something to ask of you. Since I reached 1,000 subs a few weeks ago, I think it's time for you to finally do a Q&A. So down below, if you have a question for me, comment down below what do you want me to answer for you. It could be Death Battle related, it doesn't have to be Death Battle related, it could be related to my videos, how I make my videos, it could just be anything. And I'll put it into a video, a big boy Q&A video for you guys. I'll also be working on some smaller videos and maybe a review video on a video game. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, that is going to be all for you guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
back from the dead.